Welcome to Gilbert Sullivan Radio Theatre. This is your host, Jerry Tracy. In each segment, we present music and dialogue highlights from the 14 comic masterpieces of Gilbert Sullivan in chronological order.
Not quite.
Our musical excerpts are drawn from the vast Gilbert Sullivan Radio Theatre collection.
Wow, that's fast.
And include great recorded classics from the past,
A wandering minstrel.
as well as more modern performances. The dialogue will be performed by our own KBCS players,
I'm on. Great to be back.
whose spirited enthusiasm we trust will compensate in some measure for their other deficiencies.
Why? What?
As we are taking the operettas in chronological order, we begin with the very first Gilbert and Sullivan collaboration, Thespis, or The Gods Grown Old.
Tisk, tisk, tisk. A singularly bad place to begin.
I beg your pardon?
Gary, put down your remote and look within. Thespis was nothing more than a thoroughly amateurish exercise, wholly forgettable in every way.
I see.
No thanks, I have coffee. Thespis was thrown together as part of a Christmas pageant in December 1871 and played at a seedy burlesque theater, the Gaiety, been there, hated it, in London. The opening night was a complete fiasco. One critic wrote, and I quote, "It was past midnight when the curtain descended and the audience was in a fidgety state to get away."
Oh, well, nevertheless, Doctor, we have promised our audience completeness, and we will begin with Thespis.
Oh, really? Well, you can't do Thespis.
No, and why is that?
Because, you vacuum-headed plebe, there's no music left.
No music? What do you mean?
Sullivan himself destroyed it all shortly after the premiere. One rumor has it that he tossed the score into the Thames in disgust.
I see. Well, in that case, I suppose we'd best move on. After Thespis, the next Gilbert and Sullivan collaboration was Trial by Jury, a delightful one-act...
Now, just a moment.
The voice down.
Yes? Yes?
We've been running our lines all week. You told us we were going to do Thespis, and we are fully prepared to do so.
Oh, yes, that's right.
But, my dear fellow, if there's no music left, how can we possibly...
But Thespis' music was rediscovered 2 years ago.
What nonsense.
Look, here's the compact disc to prove it.
Uh-huh. Well, Doctor, it would appear that our friend in the toga is quite right. We can mount Thespis after all.
Now, just a moment here. This can't be right. How much of this music was allegedly rediscovered? Give me that jewel case.
While Dr. Pompasars
Pompuzar.
is reviewing the liner notes, let's sample the newly discovered introduction to Thespis, shall we? Well, that sounded quite promising.
Oh, yes, I'm artistically stimulated. But this says that only a tiny fraction of the music was discovered.
More than enough to present the highlights of the operetta.
Bah! I will not be party to this. I have my reputation to consider. As Moliere said on his last stage...
Our curtain rises on the ruins of the Temple of the Gods on the summit of Mount Olympus in ancient Greece. The temple is in considerable disrepair, as are the gods themselves.
I don't know. What do you think? Mauve?
No, pink.
Oh, you've ruined it.
Oh, ruined temple.
An extremely geriatric Jupiter greets his aging fellow deities.
Oh, good day, Diana.
Good day.
Apollo. Well, what's the matter?
Why, that young scamp Mercury says that we do nothing and leave all the duties of Olympus to him. Will you believe it? He actually says that our influence on Earth is dropping to nil.
Oh, well. Don't be hard on the lad. To tell you the truth, I'm not sure he's very far wrong. Don't let it go any further. But between ourselves, the sacrifices and votive offerings have fallen off terribly of late. What? I can remember the time when people offered us human sacrifices. No mistake about it. Human sacrifices.
Oh.
Think of that.
Those good old days.
Yes, then it fell off to oxen, pigs, and sheep.
Well, there are worse things than oxen, pigs, and sheep.
So I found to my cost. My dear sir, between ourselves, it's dropped off from one thing to another until it has positively dwindled down to canned spam. What do you think of that?
Oh, I like spam. Well, I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
No, you won't mention it. It might go further.
It couldn't fare worse.
In short, matters have come to such a crisis that there's no mistake about it. Something must be done to restore our influence. The only question is, what?
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 I can hear you. Don't yell for Hetty's sake.
At this critical moment, the messenger of the gods, Mercury, rushes on the scene with some news.
Ow! Hate it when that happens. Terrible news! Mortals, hundreds, nay, thousands of mortals are swarming up Mount Olympus. Headed right this way.
Mercury is exaggerating a tad.
I am not.
Actually, only about 11 principals, plus men and women's choruses, are approaching the sacred heights of Mount Olympus for a picnic, blithely unaware that these are forbidden grounds. It is the father of the drama, Thespis, with his troupe of comedians. They sing as they ascend. Hey, wait a minute, I know that tune. That's the opening women's chorus from the Pirates of Penzance.
You are absolutely correct.
Oh, you're back, are you?
Yes, and this is virtually the only scrap of music that remains.
Here, then, is a bit of the Picnickers' chorus. Well, this is going fairly well, I think. Ah, I see that we turn now to the very first patter song ever written by Gilbert and Sullivan. Thespis' song, North, South, East, West, Diddlesex Junction. Do we have the music queued up?
Well...
Oh, let's get on with it then. Now then, ladies and gentlemen, the very first patter song ever written by Gilbert and Sullivan.
A wandering minstrel, a thing of, a thing of, a thing
Now, just a moment. That's not the right song.
thing of.
I hate to tell you.
Perhaps we'd best move on. After Thespis, the next Gilbert and Sullivan collaboration was Trial by Jury, a delightful one-act.
Oh, please, let us continue with Thespis. There is some music coming up, the song, Little Maid of Arkadiy.
You have a recording of Little Maid of Arkadiy?
Well, actually, no. It's never been recorded, but we do have the sheet music.
After Thespis, the next Gilbert and Sullivan collaboration was Trial by Jury, a delightful one-act.
But wait a bit. You could sing it.
I could? No. You really think I could?
Oh, of course, you could do it beautifully. Don't you agree?
Oh, yeah.
Wait a minute. Remember Milli Vanilli? You could
Well, if you really think so. Perhaps I will sing it after all. Here, then, is the delightful song, Little Maid of Arkadiy, which I will sing.
Little maid of Arkadiy sat on Cousin Robin's knee, though in face and form and limb nobody could equal him. He was rich and she was fair, truth they made a pretty pair. Happy little maiden she, happy maid of Arkadiy, happy little maiden she, happy maid of Arkadiy, happy maid of Arkadiy. No, there's more. Yes. Moments sped as moments will, rapidly enough, until after, say, a month or two, robins did as robins do, fickle as the month of May, jilted her and ran away, her little home she crept. There she sat her down and wept. Maiden wept as maidens will, grew so thin and pale and ill, till another came to woo. Then again the roses grew. Happy little maiden she, happy maid of Arkadiy. Happy little maiden she, happy maid of Arkadiy. There's more. Happy maid of Arkadiy.
All right. Move over, Linda McCartney. After Thespis, the Gilbert and Sullivan collaboration was Trial by Jury. A delightful
Give
one
me
act.
back my microphone.
I don't think so.
As it is now too late to begin trial by jury, we will just have to forge ahead with Thespis.
I knew he would.
Thespis and his picnicking theatrical troupe encounter the gods, but fail to recognize them, much to the outrage of the deities themselves.
Presumptuous mortals!
Presumptuous morals?
Creepy little man.
Remove this person!
Stop! Evidently you don't know me. Allow me to offer you my card.
Ooh, look here, you know, this is a private party, and we haven't the pleasure of your acquaintance. There are a good many other mountains, if you must have a mountain all to yourself.
I am
Jupiter!
I am Jupiter, the king of the gods. This is Apollo.
May the sun be with you.
This is Mars.
Where's my teeth?
And this is Diana.
Hello.
Oh, then as I am a respectable man and rather particular about the company I keep, I think I'll go.
No, stop a bit. We want to consult you on a matter of great importance. Come into my thundercloud. Now we're alone. Who are you?
I am Thespis of the Thessalian Theatre.
Very man we want. Now, as a judge of what the public likes, are you impressed with my appearance as the father of the gods?
Well, to be candid with you, I am not. In fact, I'm disappointed.
Disappointed?
Yes, you see, you're so much out of repair. No, you don't come up to my idea of the part. Bless you, I've played you often enough.
You have.
To be sure, I have.
Did you find I'm an impressive character to play?
Well, no. I can't say you are. In fact, we don't use you much out of burlesque.
Burlesque?
The fact is, you are not the gods you were.
But what are we to do?
Why don't you go down to earth, incognito, mingle with the world, hear and see what people think of you, and judge for yourselves as to the best means to take to restore your influence?
But what's to become of Olympus in the meantime?
Lord bless you, don't distress yourself about that. I've a very good company, used to taking long parts on the shortest notice. Invest us with your powers, and we'll fill your places until you return.
The offer is tempting, but suppose you fail.
Fail? Oh, we never fail in our profession. We've nothing but great successes.
Then it's a bargain?
It's a bargain.
And that you may not be entirely without assistance, we will leave you Mercury. And whenever you find yourself in a difficulty, you can consult him.
We do have to.
And so the aging deities descend Mount Olympus for a 1-year vacation. To make a long story short, a year rushes by.
Where's the time gone?
Thespis and his troupe have not exactly kept up their part of the bargain, as Mercury tactfully reminds Thespis.
Ow! Not in.
Well, Mercury, I've been in power 1 year today.
1 year today. How do you like ruling the world?
Like it. Why, it's mere child's play.
Very simple, isn't it?
Simple? Why, I could do it on my head.
I dare say. You will do it on your head very soon.
What do you mean by that, Mercury?
I mean that when you've turned the world quite topsy-turvy, you won't know whether you're standing on your head or your heels.
Well, but Mercury, it's all right at present.
Oh, yes, as far as we know.
Well, but we know as much as anybody knows, I believe that's the world still's going on.
Yes, as far as we can judge, much as usual.
And here we are after a year, and not a single complaint or a single petition has reached me.
No, not yet.
What do you mean by no, not yet?
Well, you see, you don't understand these things. All the petitions that are addressed by men to Jupiter pass through my hands, and it's my duty to collect them and present them once a year.
Oh, only once a year?
Only once a year.
And the year is up?
Today.
Oh, then I suppose there are some complaints?
Yes, there are some.
Oh, perhaps there are a good many.
There are a good many.
Oh, perhaps there are a thundering lot.
There are a thundering lot!
Oh.
Oh. You see, you've been taking it so very easy, and so have most of your company.
Oh, who has been taking it easy?
Well, all except those who have been trying experiments. Yes, you.
Well, but I suppose the experiments are ingenious?
Yes, they are ingenious, but on the whole, ill-judged. But it's time to go and summon your court.
What for?
To hear the complaints. In 5 minutes, they will be here.
With little winged boots aflutter, Mercury flies off.
See ya! Ow!
And young Daphne enters, weeping.
Now then, Daphne, what's the matter with you?
Well, you know how disgracefully Sparkion...
Apollo.
Beg pardon?
Sparkion is playing the god Apollo.
Apollo, then, has treated me. He promised to marry me years ago, and now he's married to Nicemus.
Now, look here, I can't go into that. You're in Olympus now and must behave accordingly. Drop that, Daphne, and assume your character, the muse Calliope.
Quite so. That's it.
Oh, that is it.
That is it, Thespis. I am Calliope, the muse of fame. Very good. This morning I was in the Olympian library and I took down the only book there. Here it is.
Lempriere's Classical Dictionary, the Olympian Peerage.
Open it at Apollo.
Oh, here it is.
Read.
Apollo was several times married, among others, to Isa, Bolina, Coronis, Chamine, Chirine, Chione, Acalus, and Calliope.
And Calliope.
I didn't know he was married to them.
Sir, this is the family edition.
Oh, quite so.
You couldn't expect a lady to read any other.
Oh, no consideration. But in the original version...
I go by the family edition.
Then, by the family edition, Apollo is your husband.
Along come 2 other troop members, Nicemus and the faithless Sparkion, who are married to one another when not portraying the gods.
Apollo? Your husband? He's my husband.
I beg your pardon. He is my husband.
Apollo is Sparkion and he's married to me.
Sparkion is Apollo and he's married to me.
He's my husband.
He's your brother.
Look here, Apollo, whose husband are you? Don't let's have a row about it. Whose husband are you?
Upon my honor, I don't know. I'm in a very delicate position, but I'll fall in with any arrangement Thespis may propose.
I've just found out that he's my husband, and yet he goes out every evening with that thing.
Perhaps he's trying an experiment.
I don't like my husband to make such experiments. The question is, who are we all, and what is our relation to each other?
Thespis hardly has time to deal with this situation before the gods return. in somewhat less than jovial spirits.
Oh, monster!
Monster!
You little creepy beast.
Well, sir, the year is up today.
And a nice mess you've made of it.
You've deranged the whole scheme of the society.
There's going to be a row. My dear boy, I do assure you.
Be respectful.
Be respectful.
I don't know
Mind
what
your manners.
I don't know what you're alluding to, with the exception of getting our scene painter to run up this temple. Because we found the ruins drafty, we haven't touched a thing.
Oh, storyteller!
Storyteller!
Big fat liar.
My dear fellow deities, you're distressing yourselves unnecessarily. The court of Olympus is about to assemble to listen to the complaints of the year, if any. But there are none, or next to none. Let the Olympians assemble! Now then, if you're all ready, we'll begin.
Here is the agenda.
Oh, little Mercury nearly collapses under the tremendous weight of scores of bundles.
What's that? The petitions?
Some of them. I thought there'd be a row about it.
What's wrong now?
Why, it's been a foggy Friday in November for the last 6 months, and the Athenians are tired of it.
There's no pleasing some people. This crazing for perpetual change is the curse of the country. Friday is a very nice day.
So it is, but a Friday 6 months long, it gets monotonous.
It's perfectly ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
It's just plain silly.
It shall be arranged. Simon.
Sir.
Now then, Father Time, what's this about a wet Friday in November for the last 6 months?
Well, the fact is, I've been trying an experiment. 7 days in the week is an awkward number. It can't be halved. 2s into 7 won't go.
Quite so, quite so.
So's I abolish Saturday.
Oh, but...
Do be quiet. He's a very intelligent young man and knows what he's about. So you abolished Saturday. And what did you find to answer?
Admirably.
You hear? He found it to answer admirably.
Yeah, only Sunday refused to take its place.
Sunday refused to take its place.
See, Sunday comes after Saturday. Sunday won't go on duty after Friday. Sunday's principles are very strict. That's where my experiment sticks.
Well, but why November? Come on, why November?
December can't begin till November has finished. November can't finish because he's abolished Saturday. There again, my experiment sticks.
But why wet? Come now, why wet?
Oh, well, that is your fault. You turned on the rain 6 months ago and you forgot to turn it off again.
Oh, this is monstrous!
Order.
Gentlemen, pray be seated. It's very easily settled. Athens has had a wet Friday in November for the last 6 months. Let them have a blazing Tuesday in July for the next 12.
Order!
Now then, the next article.
Here's a petition from the Peace Society. They complain there are no more battles.
What?
Quiet there. Good dog. Timidon.
Yeah,
What's this about being no battles?
I've abolished battles. It's an experiment.
Oh, come, I say.
Quiet then. Quiet. Abolished battles?
Well, yes. You told us on taking office to remember 2 things. To try experiments and to take it easy. I found I couldn't take it easy while there were any battles to attend to. So I tried the experiment and abolished battles. And then I took it easy. The Peace Society ought to be very much obliged to me.
Obliged to you? Why, confound it. Since battles have been abolished, war is universal.
War? Universal?
To be sure it is. Now that nations can't fight, no 2 of them are speaking to each other. The dread of fighting was the only thing that kept them civil. Let battles be restored and peace reign supreme.
Here's a petition from the Associated Wine Merchants of Mytilene.
Well, what's wrong with the Associated Wine Merchants of Mytilene? Are there no grapes this year?
Plenty of grapes, more than usual.
You observe, there's no deception. There are more than usual.
There are plenty of grapes, only they are full of ginger ale.
I say.
Yeah, I know.
Bacchus!
Here!
There seems to be something unusual with the grapes of Mytilene. They only grow ginger ale.
And a very good thing, too.
It's very nice in its way, but it is not what one looks for from grapes.
Beloved master, a week before we came up here, you insisted on my taking the pledge. By so doing, you rescued me from my otherwise inevitable misery. I cannot express my thanks. Embrace me!
Later. Look here, you're the god of wine.
I am.
Well, do you consider it consistent with your duty as the god of wine to make grapes yield nothing but ginger ale?
Do you consider it consistent with my duty as total abstainer to grow anything stronger than ginger ale?
But your duty is the god of wine.
In every aspect in which my duty as the god of wine can be discharged consistently with my duty as a total abstainer, I will discharge it. But when the functions clash, everything must give way to the pledge. My preserver!
Don't be a confounded fool. Oof. This can be arranged. We can't give over the wine this year, but at least we can improve the ginger ale. Let all ginger ale be extracted from it immediately.
Enough! Your reign is ended. Away to earth, contemptible comedians, and hear our curse before we set you free. You shall all be transformed into street mimes, to whom no one listens.
Climbing up the rope.
I seem to be feeling my own self.
And as Thespis and his theatrical troupe make the most of these bad notices and rush headlong down Mount Olympus, we leave the rejuvenated deities to enjoy once again their nectar and their ambrosia.
Bring on the sacrifices.
Vulcan, you clod, don't eat your nectar with a fork.
And we conclude Thespis with this last excerpt of the rediscovered score. Our thanks, as ever, to the KBCS players. Dr. Pompazars was portrayed by Jeff Hogan, Jupiter was played by Gary Jones, Deanna by Janet Smith, Apollo by John Moore, Mercury by Deirdre Kilgore.
Deirdre Kilgore. It's Kilgore. It's Deirdre Kilgore.
No, I beg your pardon, it is Kilgore. Thespis by Bill Mott, Nicemus by Meredith Hunt, Sparkion by Peter Lewis, Daphne by Deanne Odom, Mars was portrayed by Jeff Hogan, Meredith Hunt played Simon, Timidon was portrayed by Joey Labard, and Tipsyon by Peter Lewis. Our production engineer was Gareth Davis. Until next time, then, when we finally reach trial by jury.